Well, I guess we'll start here. Let's read the note. This is from my friend Big Al. Apparently I've worked on, well, I know I did his other M300 he got. This is my M300. Was a Los Angeles Super Bowl man. Was a Los Angeles Super Bowl man. He passed away. I bought it from his daughter. No clue the state. Tell me if it can work. You did a great job on Mother M300, so I know what you can do to it. I hope you could look at the Roadrunner 150. This is my dad's amp. I got it when he passed away in 1997. It works, but people say it's a splatter box. Maybe you could look at, there should be a comma there or a period or something. Could you look at it, please? If not, do the M300 work and ship the Roadrunner back. Okay. Thanks. If you have any questions, call or text me, Big Al. Well, I'll give him this. At least he gave me his phone number. Even though I've got you saved in my phone, big guy. Okay. First things first, last things third. Let's take a look at your dad's box, because that actually holds more interest to me than this guy. Let's bring you guys over here so you can join the party. No. That would be what we call woefully inadequate. Ham guys love these things. They're not the greatest thing in the world. All right, let's see what we got going on. 2 old school MRF 455s, way oversized relays, and a good board design. Not stud mounts, decent transformers. But this is going to be a low drive unit, maybe 25-30 watts, right? I wonder why people were saying this was a splatter box. Well, there's things I can do with this. So rest assured, this is not a big deal. Now, let's take a look at the messenger. Now, from first glance, it looks a little rough. Actually, it looks way rough. But I've made way worse look like new. Here's what caught my attention about looking at it. The inside of this thing is basically pristine for the most part. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a little rough, but I've made worse look way better and actually run really, really good, right? So I can't get excited about this. Put some new power wires on it, a new fan, put a new variable. We'll get the LEDs hooked back up. Clean it, of course. We'll paint the tin. We'll get this all cleaned up and redone. That's not a big deal. None of this is really that big of a deal. We could go on and on and on and be like, oh my God, it's missing some parts. Don't know where those are at, but that's okay. We know what those values are, so we can fix that, right? Remember, we can't get too excited. We just can't. We can't get too excited about any of this. It's just an amplifier, but we can make it happen. These are really good fans. They're really cute. We'll probably replace this just with one 120 millimeter fan though. Let's go ahead and let's just snip this right in the bud right now. So our heat sink's a little bent up. That's okay, I know how to fix that. Soak this down, we clean this up. This was made in 1985. 12 of 12, 1985, scratched right here on the heatsink. We'll put a different variable in here. The low, medium, and high switch in these things always suck balls. So we'll just put a variable in here, and that'll get our functionality back for our variable drive, which is just a voltage divider. This has got probably 1446s or 454 or 455s in it as well. Output board doesn't look that bad. Bias board looks like it's intact. Our little 2-watt flyback resistors have gotten a little hot over the years. That's okay. That's what happens when you don't use 5 watts. I threw that in there. This is kind of saddening though. This balance resistor has been on fire. Right here. Let's let the smoke clean smooth right out of it. So it might have a couple bad pills. But still, that's nothing that we can't overcome. I mean, really, there's nothing here that we can't fix if a guy was so inclined to put enough energy into it. Let's call the customer. Okay, so I called and I talked with the customer. I got a pretty tight budget I got to fit within. And after sitting here and looking at this for a couple minutes, these were famous for this. This looks like somebody's already permanently, semi-permanently bypassed the low, medium, and high. As in they soldered the leads together. Okay, so one less step I got to take. He wants to know if the transistors are any good first. So I think what happened is this thing got ran, it got really hot, and this capacitor fell off of this transformer and then got lost in the shuffle someplace. I'm pretty sure I've got another one of these, like 1,000,000,000% sure. If I put another capacitor on here and then just put power to this and then run it very lightly, I wonder if I can see if the transistors are good. Because if the pills are good, we'll rebuild it. If the pills are not, he's only into this for $100 and he's not willing to chase this down that rabbit hole any further. Which I don't blame him. I mean, it all comes down to dollars, right? So let me measure some shit. Let's put some caps on some stuff. We'll hook up some other power wires and we'll be right back. Okay, so got the watt meters on, but we're not going to even pay attention to them because we don't care. It's way out of tune and stuff's all bad here. So the only thing we care about is that if we see if this and this and this and this get hot when I key the microphone. Ready? Here we go. We have 4 good pills. What we don't have is an output network that's resonant to the RF that the transistors are producing. But that answers our questions. Now I can call the customer back and go, dude, you got 4 good pills. Let me fix this pile of, well, let me just fix this pile up for you. Turn it into a gem. So, on that note, I'll be back. This thing cleaned up pretty good, all things considered. Okay, so let's turn the amp off. Send over here to the watt meters real quick. 1111, 111, 111. I don't know how it gets 60 watts, but we're gonna look over here at the bird. We'll put about 30 watts in this thing, according to the bird. Turn the amp on. One says 450, the other one says 385. Now what we have done on the inside is we eliminated the fuse. We got rid of all the garbage power wires that were running the fan, drilled the hole out and put a grommet in so we can install the fan here in a minute. Upgraded the power wires, put a new balance resistor in it, got the preamp fixed the variable up here in the front, fixed the low, medium, and high, so now we've got the variable knob in its place. We scrubbed the holy bejesus out of the heatsink. It looks kind of like new now. The cabinet, it's over here drying at the moment. We sanded it down and got rid of all the rust. So we got that fixed up. Just let that dry overnight. But yeah, let's take a look at the input tunes and that kind of thing. So we'll go up here. Oh, stop, there we go. Okay, amp off. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, that's our pass-through tune. Here's our input tune. Hello, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. That turned out perfect. So we have the ability to talk through the amp, with a little to no loss, and it's putting out watts. So now let's sit here and we'll play with the input variable. Now let's come over and look at the spectrum analyzer. Thank you, Vic, for being one of the few people on the face of this earth that wants to build a clean CB amplifier. By the way, Vic's the guy that was the dude at Messenger forever and more. Hello, 1, 2. Hello, 1, 2. Very clean. Let's see, we repaired the on-off indicator board, which meant I had to unsolder it, repair one trace, put it back in, re-hot glue down the LEDs, and then solder it back in place. But this is the coolest bit. Preamp still works. And everything is in balance. There's no heating on that output combiner. None. So, short of a fan and being able to screw the lid on the top, this thing is back in one piece. And I'm not kidding you. I mean, like, the heatsink really cleaned up. I might come back and spray just a little bit of paint here, a little bit of paint on the front. But for the most part, this really cleaned up. This thing was beat, if you guys remember. Remember how dirty that was? Okay, so easy peasy. Only represents about 3 hours worth of work. No big deal. I'd rather be doing this than digging ditches or having to prostitute my ass out on the corner, because I don't think anybody would give me any money for my ass. Get that fat hairy thing out of our face. So, we're gonna call this one a win for now. I gotta let that tin dry a little bit. I'm gonna go over and cut a fan here in a minute. Hey now. What the hell? I don't know. I'll call this a win. Any messenger I can save from the scrap pile, I consider that a good day in this universe. I mean, really. So, it cleaned up actually pretty good. We're able to get most of the lettering to come back white. I don't know what he'd spilled all over the heatsink. It was a mixture of coffee and baby spudel. I don't know. I know it ran off of here and it was brown. That's all I know. And dried Coke as far as I know, or Pepsi. So, like I said, I'll just touch to make these fins look perfect. And we'll touch this up just a little bit. Nothing that's going to harm nothing, but still. Let's hook up his dad's amplifier, and I want to see what his locals mean by splatterbox. So you see this big copper board that sits in the middle? I remember I got my very first spectrum analyzer, and I ran around like, whoop, I got my first spectrum analyzer. I'll never forget, I bought the thing. We're driving home, and I bought it from a guy that lived in Elko, Nevada. And me and my wife were driving home. We were dating, or engaged at the time. And all the way home, I'm like, I got my own spectrum analyzer. I got a spectrum analyzer. Whoop, whoop, look at me. My pee-pee's 14 feet long, and I bend over too quick, I poked myself in the eye, I got a spectrum analyzer, right? Okay, look, I was excited. I came home and I had an X-Force 1x4 that was here. And I took that sucker down to the meat and then put it back together, and then proceeded to change all the parts in it to see how to affect my outgoing signal, right? God, I hate to say this out loud, this is 14 years ago now. And I figured out that if I put a piece of phenolic between the input and output transformers, there was a really weird harmonic that took place at like 43 or 47 megahertz, and it would snub that out completely. And I'm like, mirror board, I'm going to call it mirror board technology. I figured out something else because nobody else has got a spectrum analyzer. The stupid shit that used to come out of my mouth hole. Anyhow, that went on for about maybe 6 weeks. And then I opened an old school Texas Star, like 400 or 500. And they have a piece of copper sitting between their input and output transformers. And I went, well, fuck me. I hadn't created anything. I just rediscovered something somebody else had already figured out decades ago. All right, so this is a Roadrunner 150. That's a cute little amp. 111. I'm going to swing about 40-50 watts in this wall. This says 40. This one says 40, and that one's 30 or whatever. We're running on 15 volts flat. So here's high at 300, which is really screaming for this little amp. Here's low at audio. Now we'll come up here. We're going to look at our input reflect. Hello, that's on low. Hello, that's on high. So a wise man once said, run it on high. Just saying. Still a little bit high, but I wouldn't do anything more than like a 30-watt radio into it anyhow. So on high, we're getting out of these two transistors, two 454s or 455s. Right around 300 watts. Now his neighbors were telling him, man, don't run that thing against the splatter box. No, I know, because I heard it from a ham operator who said it to me one time. And you know, I wonder how that lie ever got started, by the way. All CB amplifiers or splatter boxes, which actually is what I found to be absolutely the reverse case. Most amateur amplifiers, if you take the filtering out of them, are horrific splatter boxes. And I mean horrific. Or most CB amplifiers, because they're designed to work on one band and one band only, they can only produce RF on that one band. And it's usually centered in the band, and then it tapers off as it goes to the top or the bottom of the band. So, really, in reality, amateur amplifiers, especially the solid-state ones, are the splatter boxes. But I'm sure there was some ham out there that went, you know what? I can tell my CBer that lives down the street that his amplifier is a splatter box and causes all this interference. And he'll never know. It's not that he's going to ever own a spectrum analyzer. And we're talking like in the 50s and 60s and 70s. Not that he'll ever know, because, well, you know, it takes really expensive equipment that only find in a laboratory. And, you know, butterflies will fly out of my butt before he'll find out that that's not true. And then the lie starts, right? And then it just kind of perpetuates. So now here we are in 2025, and the most commonly overused term I hear is splatter. Man, he was splattered on me all the way down to 80 megahertz. Well, that's not physically possible. One, the antenna won't let the RF go that low if you're a CBer. And two, you, as being the amateur operator, are responsible for what's coming into your station. And just because your proximity is that it bothers you, it has nothing to do with him. It has to be with how you're running your station, and if you want to engage a little bit of attenuation and null out your receiver getting overloaded on another band and it affecting your receive. The reason I can say that is because his neighbors, who've been dragging his wiener through the mud about how this amplifier is a splatter box. Let me show you the radio. 111, hello, 12, pickle your shoe, 34, eat a booger out your nose. Here's the Roadrunner 150. Hello, 12, hello, 12. The only harmonic that is present on this scale is right here. Hello, 1, 2, and we can all visually see with our own naked peepers. That's 47 dBs down from the principal. No one would ever consider that to be a splatter box. Never ever on the face of God's green twiddly thumbed earth would this be considered a splatter box. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. Now for fun, I'm going to reach over here. I'm going to move the little cursor on the radio. We'll go to up to 2820. So 28 megahertz. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2. Nope, nothing there. But what we see on 28 megahertz, hello, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, is we see about a 30 watt drop off in the amplifier's ability to do its job. Hello, 1, 1, 1, 1. So we'll go to 26 megahertz. Hello, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. The relay doesn't want to latch because the input tune's so bad. I can get away with running experiments like this because I'm running into a dummy load. If we tried to run this on a monoband antenna, specifically for 11 meters, those last two tests would have never happened because the SWR would have been so high. You got to think the antenna is going to snap off the splatter, high and low. Now his buddy that might live a mile down the road and he hooks this up on his base unit might have something to say about that because you're going to overload his receiver. And so he might be up on channel 38 trying to talk sideband, and homeboy's down here on the chicken tracks trying to get his name called on AM. And the two of them don't see eye to eye and are crying about it. And you can literally hear the tears weeping from the face hole of the guy down the street. I can't hear on sideband. Now, what I do want to point out is that we're looking at the input transformer. Okay? This amplifier belonged to his pops, right? See this little bead? This amplifier is class C. You really don't ever want to, never, not today, not on any day of the week, not even on Cinco de Mayo, do you want to run this thing on sideband. Now there are people out there that will claim that you can run a Class C amplifier on sideband and not have any problems. Buy an oscilloscope. That's all I got to say to that. And I love my one friend I love to death, who claims to have 1,700,000, 1621 thousandths of 400s amplifiers in Mexico that are all running on sideband, with them being Class C, and he's never had one come back. I accept your data pool as being your data pool. All I know is what I can measure with my very accurate voltmeter called an oscilloscope, and it says no good. No good. So, okay, last but not least, but finally third, the preamp works. Man, I can't find any reason to go in here and put a screwdriver anywhere in this thing. Like, to even touch it with a screwdriver would be blasphemous and woefully not necessary. But I did it anyhow. So there, I worked on it. Nah, man, there ain't nothing wrong with this thing. Nothing whatsoever. Nothing that I can seriously detect or see. I don't know why your neighbors are crying to you about it being a splatter box, because it's actually cleaner than that thing. It's cleaner than about 90% of the amplifiers that come in here, to be honest with you. So you shouldn't be ashamed of this. I'd hook this up and I'd run it with lots of smiles and good memories of your dad, and I wouldn't think another thing about it, to be honest with you, brother. And this thing doesn't even look like the same amplifier. Got all the mud out of it. Got all cleaned up front and back. I did end up having to change this, by the way. I forgot to mention that. That little Arco has a tendency to burn up. They're actually quite famous for it, but LEDs fixed, all tested, new power wire, new fans. Got your relay board all reattached because it was broke off. Put a new variable in it. Got the amp all cleaned up. Got the tin all smacked back out nice and straight. Sanded it back until it was clean. Went ahead and put a new coat of epoxy high temp paint on it, so it'll never come off, chip, or rust, peel, you know, because we don't want to do rusties. We've all seen the movie Cars. Repaired your preamp, and oh, we can't have that. You hear that? The fan is making some AC noise, and it's getting in your receive. All right. Give me just a minute. Let's fix this. Can't have fan noise in the receive. No more fan noise, just like that. All it takes is one little disc capacitor and the knowledge where to put it. Okay, well, we put a high flow fan on here. This thing will never get hot on you ever again. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 400 watts, pretty steady. I have the utmost confidence this thing isn't going to give you a hard time whatsoever. I'm going to go ahead and put new hardware to hold the tin on, because the hardware, the one screw that was in it, brother, it was pretty hollered out. So I went ahead and I drilled into the next heatsink, so fin, the next heatsink fin. So get your brand new all prettified lid put back on it, and get you all boxed up. Thank you, by the way, Mr. A, for sending this over and letting me play with it. That's it. That's all I got. Gentlemen, come check us out on Patreon if you're interested in helping support the channel. Big shout out to Penna, XS, Siglant, MechMan, Bird, Coaxial Dynamics. And as always, thank you guys for giving me the thumbs up or leaving a comment down in the doobly-doo. Another old roached out messenger. I'm really tickled with how well that cleaned up and came out. It looks sharp. All right, gents. I'll see you. Click, click.